Rupert.
Hi.
Ready for another one? I want to talk with you about psychedelic drugs and infinity.
Psychedelic drugs and
infinity. So
that's an interesting combination.
A bit of a different path. What we can learn, or what the psychedelic experience. Oh, let me first ask you if you have any psychedelic experience.
No.
No. Okay, so then it's a different conversation.
I mean, apart from smoking pot, but nothing more than that.
Yeah.
In Amsterdam, that doesn't count.
Yeah. So we'll explain my psychedelic experience with LSD, where I had several experiences, a deeply understanding of the concept of infinity, hallucinations that seems to be an expression of infinity in a visual way, and having the experience that my friend was the same consciousness as me, so like a collective consciousness, but being very real experience. But as this psychedelic experience went over, I started losing the reality of this experience. For example, the reality of having a collective consciousness with my friend. So I want to know what we can learn from this, and why psychedelic experience seems to reference so much to infinity. And as you say, consciousness is infinity. Infinite consciousness, you say all the time. What we can learn from that. But
well, no experience is infinite, because all experience, no matter how extraordinary or indeed ordinary it may be, has a form to it. And anything that has a form to it is finite.
yes.
So there's no such thing as an infinite experience. So that there are attempts by artists and poets and musicians to represent the infinite in form, but these are just attempts that are ultimately doomed to failure. But nevertheless, they are attempts to somehow express the inexpressible in form. This is the impulse behind any artist's work. So, although these forms never really express the infinite, because the infinite, by definition, cannot be expressed, nevertheless, there are some forms that have some kind of magical power in them to deliver the experience to which they refer, and these forms are great works of art.
Yes.
A truly great work of art is a work of art that has the power to take us beyond the finite. In other words, to give us, as Cézanne said, a taste of nature's eternity.
Beautiful. Yes.
And you can psychedelic drugs. If the normal parameters of the waking state mind are a segment like this, and the parameters of the if we include the dreaming state, then the parameters of the normal mind are, let's say, a quadrant like this. With the use of psychedelic drugs, the parameters of what a mind is able to experience broadens, and we have access to phenomena that we don't normally have access to in the waking and dreaming states. But it is still phenomena, and as such tells us nothing about consciousness.
Yes, so any psychedelic experience is still an experience.
It's still an objective experience. I'm not dismissing it, but I'm just as a fact. It's just a fact. The taste of tea is objective experience. The dream of a Caribbean beach is an objective experience. A psychedelic trip is an objective experience, known by, appearing in, and made of consciousness.
Yes. But our brains are able to make more connections, so our senses broaden.
Yes, I grant that psychedelic experience gives us a broader spectrum of experience. Yes. The waking state is in fact the narrowest spectrum of experience. We know from our dreams that even the dream state, we have access to a wider spectrum of experience in our dreams than we do in the waking state. In our dreams, we can do everything that we can do in the waking state, but we can do a lot more. We can fly, we can play music that we've never been, we can speak languages that we can't speak in the waking state. And so psychedelics is an expansion of the capacities for phenomenal experience.
But are there different layers of understanding?
There are different layers
infinity, or the awareness itself.
That there are no layers or degrees of awareness. There are layers and degrees of the mind. The mind, objective experience, can be graded in degrees, but there are no degrees of awareness. It's like the sun. The sun is there are no degrees of sunlight. The sun is always the same. There are degrees of cloud cover which modulate the sun's light and makes it seem that there are degrees of sunlight. But in fact, there's no real variation in the sun's light. It's the same with consciousness.
But as you say, we cannot experience full consciousness, infinite consciousness, because then there will be everything and nothing at the same time.
No, consciousness is only ever experiencing itself. That there is nothing other than infinite consciousness to be experienced. It's just that in this experience of the world, infinite consciousness is appearing as a world. All infinite consciousness ever experiences is infinite consciousness, because what else is there in existence which could be experienced? It's just that now, in this experience, infinite consciousness appears to be a multiplicity and diversity of objects. Even to call infinite consciousness is already an ignorant statement, because it suggests that consciousness is infinite as opposed to other finite things. And so we say consciousness is infinite, meaning it is not these finite things. But even that is a concession at best to the belief that there are finite things. And now we're saying that consciousness is none of those. But in the ultimate analysis, there are no finite things that consciousness is not. So even it's unnecessary to say that consciousness is infinite. But even to call consciousness consciousness is to suggest that it is consciousness as opposed to objects. So really, we should simply remain silent. And indeed, the highest teaching, as Ramana Maharshi said, is silence. Silence is the highest expression of the truth. In fact, Ramana Maharshi was very reluctant to speak about these matters. He only spoke about these matters as a concession to those of his students that were not mature enough to sit with him in silence. I'm not just trying to be clever with words with you. I'm trying to take the teaching to the highest possible level in response to your question about psychedelics. I suspect behind your question you would like me to condone your use of psychedelic drugs.
To what?
And to condone your use.
What is that?
To support your use. And I'm neither going to support it nor disapprove of it. I don't either approve of it or disapprove of it.
Yeah.
I have no problem with it at all. it's true. I've never been attracted towards psychedelics because I find that there's more than enough in my ordinary waking state experience to be. I mean, I would be, happy listening to Bach and Beethoven's music for the rest of my life, and I could never imagine wanting any other phenomenal experience that could be greater than that. I would be quite content listening to them for the rest of my life. I just couldn't imagine anything more desirable or enjoyable in a material realm. But we're all different, and if that's not the case, if you want to expand the horizons of your mental field, that's perfectly. I have no problem with that at all. But it won't take you any closer to yourself. If you're interested in yourself, all that is necessary is to take the thought I and to go to its referent. Much cheaper than psychedelics, much quicker. It's not illegal, it's not bad for you, it's not dangerous. You can do it wherever you are, nobody knows you're doing it. It's cheap, it's easy, it's free, it's always available. It's just, why go any other way when that is available? But you're free. You can go if you want to.
Of course.
If you want to go the indirect route and have all these experiences on the way, I'm not being sarcastic. I mean that it's fine. Or more importantly, I would make a distinction in your mind, and I think this is really the crux of your question. I would make a distinction in your mind as to why you're interested in using these substances. Nothing wrong with using them at all. If that's what you want to explore, then there's no reason why you shouldn't do that. But don't make the mistake of thinking that will take you closer to your true nature. Make a distinction between the two. Explore psychedelics until your heart is, or the possibilities of the mind until your heart's content. But don't mistake it for the exploration of your true nature.
But in a case for me experiencing someone else to be the same mind, which is your theory true, like the same made of the same consciousness, I could have never got so easily to this understanding without having these psychedelic experiences. So I wouldn't know so deeply, have this understanding that we actually are made out of the same consciousness, because these psychedelic drugs made me realize this. And of course I can find it in myself. It's easy and free, but there seem to be, these experiences seem to point me somehow director towards it, the truth. Not all the time, but sometimes. And that's interesting.
Did you not ever have the experience of love before using psychedelics?
Yeah, but there are measurements in, probably. Because how deep can you experience love? You can experience love in some way, some degrees.
No, love is always the same experience.
Is it?
Yes, it's always the recognition of our shared being.
But how deep can a recognition go?
Well, that recognition can be obscured by thoughts and feelings. But the experience itself, our shared being, is always the same. Yes, thoughts and feelings can arise which prevent our shared being fully felt. So if those thoughts and feelings are dense, there is a feeling of hatred, for instance. But hatred is as such the obscuring of love, or the veiling of love. But the love, our shared being, it's a fact of experience. It is already there. It is present. It is present in everyone, albeit veiled much of the time. But whenever anybody experiences love, or love for someone, they are
Yeah.
experiencing, whether they realize it or not, they are experiencing the fact that they share their being with that person or animal.
So it's the same, it's always the same love.
Love is always
but
the same.
In some ways it's more obscured.
No, love is not love which alters when it alteration finds or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever-fixed mark that shines on tempests. Or, remember Shakespeare's sonnet. Love is always the same experience. There are no degrees of it. Love is always impersonal. It's like the sun. It is just the shining of our shared being. That shared being can be obscured by clouds of thoughts and feelings, but even when it is obscured, like the sun, it is always shining with the same brilliance.
Yes.
And every time we feel love for anyone and everything, it is the light of infinite consciousness shining in our hearts. And whenever you meet a stranger on the street and you smile at them, that is a little shining of love, being just a little recognition of our shared being with that apparent stranger who in that moment is not a stranger. He is yourself.
Thank you.
So what you are saying is, so let me reinterpret what you are asking. Is it possible for psychedelic experience to facilitate the thinning out of the cloud cover of thoughts and feelings, and therefore make available
Yes, exactly.
this love? Okay, I grant you, yes. and that's what you experienced. In this experience, that there was a thinning of the cloud cover of thoughts and feelings, and as a result, this ever-present being, you felt it, and you realized, you felt that this being was universal. There is only one being in existence, and that's what you felt. It is thoughts and feelings that fragment or seem to fragment this single being into a multiplicity and diversity of selves. So yes, in this experience there was a thinning of the cloud cover of thoughts and feelings.
But the light was always shining just as bright.
Exactly.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Yeah.